Tomo News presents There She Blows! Whales.
Rotting blue whale about to explode raises fear in Canada town. A dead blue whale washed up more than a week ago on the western shores of Newfoundland, Canada. The dead cetacean has since doubled in size, and town residents fear it's going to burst. Whales can explode due to the buildup of methane, hydrogen sulfide, and other gases within the rotting carcass, especially if it's been sitting in the sun for several weeks. Measures aimed at preventing an explosion, such as making cuts in the animal to help gas escape, are common. But the task of disposing of a whale carcass can get a little dangerous at times. Oh, poor guy. The gas built up inside the whale's belly until it exploded like an overinflated balloon. Is it really going to explode? There she blows! Emily Butler, the town clerk in Trout River, Newfoundland, has sought help from the province's Environment and Government Services Departments and the Federal Fisheries Department to remove the carcass. She said the town council considered having fishermen tow the whale carcass out to sea.
A morning surf at Sydney's Bondi Beach nearly turned very bad for one daring man after a large southern right whale came a little too close and knocked him out cold with the slap of its tail. The whale was swimming near a group of surfers about 70 metres from the shore. Vishan Rajapakse was closest to the 15-metre whale when it approached the surfers. Without warning, the animal's tail lifted out of the water and came right down on Rajapakse's head, knocking him out. Other surfers were tossed around by the animal's power. Friends pulled the helpless man from the water moments later. He was treated for shoulder injuries and a concussion, but otherwise unhurt.
Whales can be very aggressive animals if they feel very threatened. I would say this person's very lucky to not have sustained more serious injuries.
Live whale shark sawn into pieces at Chinese market. A video posted on Lively captures the unsettling scene of a majestic whale shark being sliced into pieces in a market in China. The poor fish is still alive, and the audience is well aware of it. At one point, blood and water jet from the creature's body as the two fishermen butcher it. Onlookers seem shocked, but the fishermen are as cool as cucumbers. Whale sharks are in fact classified as a vulnerable species in China and are protected under the law. It's illegal for anyone to either buy or sell them, but the rule of law is almost non-existent in China and scenes like this aren't uncommon. This isn't the first time Chinese fishermen have attempted to sell whale shark at a market. Last year, a fisherman from Fujian province captured a 16-foot-long shark and planned to sell it until he was stopped by authorities.
Want to see what happens when a whale is having a really crappy day? These pictures come to us from diver Kerry Wilk, who got caught up in the underwater shitstorm off the coast of the Dominican Republic. He and 3 other divers had planned an epic day of swimming with a pod of sperm whales in what he describes as, quote, the most crystal clear Caribbean blue water you can imagine. Unbeknownst to them, though, that water was about to get a lot murkier thanks to Doo-Doo the whale here, whose stomach was on the fritz. The animal dropped what is probably the most massive deuce ever recorded on video, covering about 100 meters in all directions with its stank on ya. Wilkes says it got in his eyes and mouth. It was everywhere. Once clear of the Punado, the clear ocean water washed it away. He still took an extra long shower though, just in case.
Aussie idiot sadly does not get eaten by sharks. Harrison Williams and friends were on a boat enjoying the waters off Western Australia over the weekend when they noticed something very large bobbing up and down in the water, which turned out to be a several-week-old dead whale. Now, you or I might find such a sight a rare and interesting addition to your weekend, but Williams is into extreme sports, and this 26-year-old thought it would be totally rad if he swam over and surfed on the whale corpse. And so he did, much to the delight of his immature friends. But then Williams looked down and noticed about a gazillion humongous hungry sharks, including a great white or two, enjoying some decaying whale sashimi. Finally, in his only sane act of the day, Williams wisely got his friends to rescue him with the boat, narrowly avoiding a Darwin Award nomination. Paddleboarder's GoPro captures killer whale close encounter.
After hearing about some orcas just down the beach, a man in New Zealand thought it would be a good idea to paddleboard 200 meters offshore towards the group of the giant black and white marine mammals that are known to feast on other mammals and whose nickname highlights their capacity to kill. There was a moment there where the whale, after briefly checking the man out, decided to go for a little sampler. Little damage was done though, fortunately. The encounter remained friendly and it seems the orca was merely curious about the paddleboarder. After a few more seconds checking the paddleboarder out, the orca swam back and joined the other orcas diving for stingrays. The paddleboarder held his cool throughout the encounter, later admitting he was just a tad nervous during his brush with one of the world's most skilled predators. San Diego SeaWorld decides to end killer whale shows by the end of next year. They're majestic, darn cute, and they put on quite a show. But many have come to believe that orca or killer whale performances are not in the best interest of either the whales or their human trainers. On Monday, SeaWorld's chief executive Joel Manby said San Diego's theatrical killer whale experience will end in late 2016. The company says it will replace the famous Shamu show with a new orca experience focused on the natural environment of the whales, which is a bit confusing as we thought their natural environment was like in the open ocean. What sparked the decision? Well, this 2013 documentary Blackfish might have had a lot more to do with SeaWorld's decision than they'd care to admit. Focusing on the 12,000-pound bull orca Tilikum, seen in this picture, the film showed his capture in 1983 off the coast of Iceland, his possible harassment by fellow captive orcas, and documented the circumstances that led to Tilikum's involvement in the death of 3 humans. When released, SeaWorld was highly displeased with the film, calling it inaccurate, misleading, and distorted. But Blackfish seems to have changed a lot of minds about keeping orcas in captivity. SeaWorld will not, however, be going Free Willy anytime soon, and will stop the shows only at its San Diego park, which saw visitor numbers drop 17% last year. Killer whale theatrical performances will continue at SeaWorld parks in San Antonio and Orlando. What do you think? Is it time to end making whales jump around for our amusement? Or is this issue not quite so black and white? Is SeaWorld genuinely changing? Or is this just a PC PR move to placate animal huggers in California?
What causes whale strandings? Recently, Britain's Coast Guard caught off a search for what could have become the 7th stranded whale in the country in the past few weeks. Rescuers had started an operation to help the sperm whale after it was seen approaching the coast of Mundesley. But after being unable to spot the whale inside the search area, the Coast Guard reckons the animal may have survived and swam to deeper waters. Experts say the survival rates for whale strandings are usually low. If the Coast Guard's hopes are right, this whale was a lucky one. But there's several reasons and scenarios that can cause whale strandings to happen. A whale may become stranded if it is ill or suffers an injury to its navigation system. Also, when in shallow waters, whales can easily become trapped in a changing tide. And since the marine animals live in tight-knit groups, one sick animal's calls of distress can cause an entire pod to respond and become stranded as well. Underwater seismic activity can also cause a whale stranding. So far in 2016, as many as 30 sperm whales have died in Europe's North Sea.
Canadian woman dies after being hit by whale during boat trip. A Canadian tourist was fatally wounded by a gray whale that crashed into a boat sailing off the coast of western Mexico on Wednesday. A total of 24 people, including passengers and crew, were on board a whale-watching boat that set out from the popular tourist destination of Cabo San Lucas in Mexico. Reports said a gray whale suddenly appeared in front of the boat on its way back. The whale jumped out of the water and landed on the boat, hitting 3 tourists. The Canadian woman fell into the water due to the impact. The woman received mouth-to-mouth resuscitation from another tourist who happened to be a qualified nurse. She was later pronounced dead at the hospital. The 2 other injured tourists were later hospitalized. Their injuries are not said to be life-threatening.
2 idiots surf on a whale shark.
Ahí viene con la boca abierta. Ahora, maestro, ahora. Cuidado, maestro. Ahora, maestro. Coño la madre. Ay, verga. Cuando venga, te echa para atrás y te monta encima de ella. Echa pela. Se la queda viendo.
Padre por costado, maestro. Ahora.
Ahora sí, maestro, ahora ahí. Eso. Es como un caballo, maestro.
La rodilla.
La vez.
Meta el pie.
Asshole humpback whale collides with jet skier. Amazing drone footage captures humpback whale slapping its tail.
Japan resumes whale slaughter, defying international law. After a one-year hiatus, Japan is resuming its whale hunts in the Antarctic. Again, maintaining the slaughter is for scientific research. In 2014, the International Court of Justice said, Japan's claims for the justification of its whaling practices were not rooted in scientific research and should stop. But despite calls from the international community to halt the exhibition, 333 minke whales will be hunted down and slaughtered between now and March of 2016. The number represents a reduced kill target compared to years past, down roughly 2/3 from previous hunts. Over the next 12 years, Japan plans to capture and slaughter 4,000 whales for the stated purpose of building a body of research. Its attempt to prove the whale population is large enough for commercial whaling to return. An international whaling moratorium took effect across the world beginning in the 1985-1986 season. But Japan has used the scientific research loophole to conduct its annual slaughter ever since.
Volunteers saved 67 of the 198 pilot whales beached in New Zealand. Last week on New Zealand's southern island, a pod of pilot whales ran aground on a beach called Farewell Spit. There were 98 whales and volunteers rushed to save them, but after several days, despite volunteers' best efforts, they were only able to return 67 whales to the ocean, while 131 whales died.
We've got 198 whales, and it's the biggest one we've picked for 10, 15 years. Because there's just so many whales, there are a couple of spots where a lot were gathered together, and that's kind of problematic from the fact you can't get in there. It's just too dangerous.
Beach whales often die due to exposure to the sun, dehydration, and health issues as the weight of their own bodies can crush their internal organs. Farewell Spit Beach sees beach whales almost every year, and this incident this year is the highest incident since 1985. New Zealand does not have a rehabilitation or rescue center for beached or injured whales and dolphins. The topic is controversial as some animal rights activists do not believe animals should be caged or separated from groups during rehabilitation and recovery.
New research has revealed that loud military sonar used by navies to detect submarines causes stark behavioral changes in whales, even resulting in mass strandings for multiple species of whale and dolphin. The studies, partly funded by the US Navy, simulated military sonar signals, sounded at 200 decibels, 3 to 10 kilometers away from the whales. Whales affected by the noise pollution initially stopped both feeding and swimming, before quickly swimming away from the noise. Some performed unusually deep and long dives. Beaked whales, the species most commonly affected by mass strandings, were found to be highly sensitive to sonar. No internationally accepted standards on underwater noise pollution currently exist.
The sight of a stranded pilot whale left visitors to SeaWorld in Orlando, Florida, a bit more than upset. Audience members were already seated when the live show was postponed because of a lightning storm. Then, at some point, a pilot whale leapt up into the edge of the pool and got stuck. Carlo de Leonibus caught part of the struggle on tape and posted it to YouTube. The scene angered many in the audience and left some children in tears. Park staff members dismissed concerns, saying there was nothing to worry about. After more than 20 minutes of thrashing, 2 trainers helped the whale back into the water. SeaWorld has stated publicly that the young whale was never in danger and that it was just too inexperienced to return to the water on its own.